Horror Fiends. Welcome back for the Horror Fiend podcast, episode 8, for featuring The Last of Us. Oh man, episode 8, guys, the second to last before the finale next week. I'm kind of sad. It's been great, and I just want to dive right into this one because, like I said last week, I wanted action. I'm tired of crying. I'm tired of, I think we talked about last week that we wanted more infection fights, which we'll dive into tonight as well. But I'm just ready to talk about this action-filled episode. So, what were your first reactions, JR, when you watched this episode?
It started off a little slow, but then once we got introduced to the character of David, it kind of slowly started picking up, and curiosity started, spreading because you knew something was coming. I mean, I've always been thinking it was the Raiders, but it wasn't actually the Raiders. It was something that's a little bit worse in a way, as far as like, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, but you always have the one religious fanatic who holds everybody together through religion, and they always have dark secrets in their closet, which make them a little bit more a stable character. But yeah, I mean, we got to see Ellie finally, become the person you guys have been saying she was going to become. You finally got a darker side of Joel, which we've been waiting for. But yeah, this is basically, this episode is what we've been anticipating for such a while, and the violence in this one basically filled up the balance for like the last 4 or 5 episodes. So yeah, this was a pleasant one. I like this one a lot.
All right, Ricky, I'm excited to hear what you got to say. What did you think of this episode?
Oh, I loved it. Probably one of my favorite episodes
I
for
agree.
the whole series so far. I think it did take a bit to get established, but like GR said, they're introducing us to like David and James and the rest of the whole flock, And I think that was kind of important. But once it ramped up, it got going pretty good. Like a lot of tension with Joel, Ellie. They're both were in peril different times within this episode, and I love Joel's reaction to everything because Joel's not really showing anger, but more like tired and hurt and like I'm just done with this shit, until the end. And I loved every moment of it. Like you said, a lot of a lot of video game moments in this, done to a T. Some minor changes on there, but none of them really bothered me at all. But yeah, overall, this episode was dope. Very dark too, which I liked about it.
Right. Yeah, for me, I absolutely love this episode. I mean, my favorite episode so far has been the sniper scene that we talked about a few episodes back. But this one just topped the cake for me. It was freaking badass. And especially with Ellie. Fucking bravo to Bella Ramsey, because she nailed her scene throughout the entire one. Like we did when we saw Joel in Jacksontown. That was his episode. He did a great job. This was Ellie's episode, Bella Ramsey's episode. So I was really happy about it. I liked the opening of the episode. And, this week we're not doing changes or Easter eggs because there was none. This episode was spot on to the T from the game. I'm not going to say it's a change because it's not a change. It's actually an addition, introducing the backstory of David and James, because we don't get that in the game. We just run into them in the woods and it goes from there and forward.
It's way more one-dimensional in the game.
Right, it's very
Not
one-dimensional.
that they were bad in the game, but they were way more fleshed out.
Yeah, when we meet David in the game, it's the part where they meet in the woods and they're fighting over the deer. That's where we start and forward. And from that scene and forward, everything's the same, but we never got David's backstory. So I loved that they opened the episode with his backstory. But yeah, it was definitely an action-packed film episode, and I'm so excited excited and sad because it's the second to last episode. And we've been waiting for this type of, violence. And like we said last week, it's from the game, it's super impactfully violent. And I think a little bit has to do with the infection. because in this series it's about cordyceps and it's spreading through sunlight. Like when the sun hits it, it starts to manifest, and if you step it on it somewhere, then that's when they come. Like we don't get that scary. Like every episode I've been like, okay, where are they going to step? Are they going to step on it? But like
more of that, yeah.
That's the downfall of this whole series, is we just didn't get enough from clickers, stalkers, and stuff like that. But yeah, overall, I'm so excited to talk about this. So let's dive in to David and James. What did you think of David and James separately and together as a team?
Just one thing though, I wish that they would have had, like, I like the whole David James aspect, and if somebody who didn't play the game, there's a disappointment I have. I wish this would have been 2 episodes. I wish that this could have been added to last episode, where you have Ellie having the flashbacks at the same time she's dealing with the real life. What happens with her, with David, when he takes her in, and like this whole scene behind me. I mean, this would have been a perfect time for her to get more flashbacks of Riley. Wrap it up really good, because then you get that whole intertwining between who she was then and who she's becoming now. But as far as David go, I mean, like I said, every religious fanatic that's in a post-apocalyptic like world is David to the T. I mean, I kind of knew he was going to be a little bit of a pedophile in a way, because he wanted to basically he wanted Ellie for his own. It's not to be her father. He wanted her, as a mate. That's the way I saw that. And like, the reason I wanted more, because you started seeing that whole James questioning what David was doing. James constantly questioning, other people questioning what David was doing, which I think it could have been dragged to 2 episodes to give it a little bit more of a fleshing out story, because you understand why they're questioning David, but like one scene was freaking hysterical for me. It was messed up at the same time. Is everybody's waiting to eat. They feed everybody small portions, and David gets the biggest portion.
I noticed that.
And then while he's eating that big portion, you got James on another table, just fuming. And that was a cool twist of it, when they're sitting there in the shed and they're having a conversation, Ellie and David, where he says things happen for a reason, like somebody in town, they lost their father, who happened to be killed by a man traveling with a girl, and I thought that was a good twist. I loved it, that because
he knew, that was cool.
Yeah. That gave him more.
I knew you would like that.
No, that was a good twist. Like for me, I like the character of David. Kind of wanted more of him. Same thing with James. I wanted 2 episodes of being in this town, and then you could wrap it up with Ellie going through the flashbacks for her and Riley. But yeah, overall, David and James were very interesting characters. And I mean, I'm kind of glad what happened to David happened, but the one question I have is, when that happened to him, which you see the fire in the background, where the hell was the rest of the town?
Oh, that's true. Did they go running, or
That's the only question I have. That's the only iffy thing I have.
Well, it depends how isolated they were from the rest of the town. Where were they?
You got this massive fire, I'm saying. And
where was the fire?
It was in their town.
In their town.
No, I know, but where?
It was in a restaurant.
That's what I'm asking. Yeah, it's a restaurant.
Yeah, I think that's the restaurant where they ate in the very beginning of the scene.
Right.
It's like right in the middle of town, almost.
Yeah. Yeah,
right.
I like the dynamic between David and James a lot. The way I saw it, I didn't see David as a religious guy at all. I saw him as a fraud. Like, he's not really believing in his own shit. I mean, he slapped a girl, picks her up, and he's saying, you still have a father. He sits down the same seat where the guy, her father was murdered. He sat in his seat, and obviously they're going to be feeding everybody this guy too. That's why he didn't want to bury him. So a lot of that shit's all bullshit. It's just a way to gather people, and I still believe in a way though that he really did try to do the right thing and keeping the people alive. I don't think it was like a malicious thing. It's just something I really believe when he said, "I'm ashamed of this," but at the same time, what JR brought it up with him and Ellie, and he even said, I was in I'm paraphrasing it, but he mentioned something about he was a bad person before, and obviously he still is underneath, because when it's something like that. Was a violent man, something like that, and it still shows. So I I think the whole preacher thing's a front.
Oh, it was.
He's absolutely was a bad man. But I think he had good intentions in a sense, but everyone goes, they all do their own thing differently when it comes to the apocalypse, But I mean, Troy Baker playing James was awesome. Only thing is, when I kept hearing him talk, I kept hearing Joel from the video game. I'm like, this is fucking Joel. Like, change your voice. I can't take it. They said it on purpose. Make sure when you speak like Joel, for the fans can get really excited. But it kind of like kept taking me out of it because I kept like smiling, like, that's Joel. But I love that, and I love how we kept second guessing David. That was awesome, and it's the subtleness of everything. When he asked him, "What do we have left for food?" He said, "Venison, rabbit, and something else." But knowing, that means we got to start killing people now because we're running out of food. Just the look on his face, like, said it all. No dialogue really needed for that when it came to James' performance on that. I loved it. And David I loved his quiet demeanor. He was calm, but scary when needed to be. And it's crazy because when Ellie said that she was bit, and David's like, no, I mean, you were here for how long? You would have been showing signs of affection. You probably would have been turned already. So he wasn't stupid in that sense. But again, just because she doesn't get infected, what if, that the cordyceps virus is still in her, and she could still spread it to other people? We don't know that. So it's anything could happen in that sense. But overall, I love the two characters. JR said he wanted more of them. I did too. I like the pacing though, because unlike Walking Dead, where they stretch everything, like one day could take like 5 episodes in that show. Here, every episode is like a chapter of the video game, and it's leading perfectly into the finale, which I can't believe they pulled that off. So
Yeah.
overall, yeah, dug the dynamic between those two. Yeah, good episode to have guest characters, and the two actors they picked for them, I think, had good chemistry, and they fit really well within the narrative of the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked David and James. I was expecting this. I like I promised, I did not watch the trailer, but I knew as just playing the game, I knew that was next.
Yep.
It was predicting. But this is the addition. It's not an Easter egg or a change. This is the addition, which is the opening scene where we get David and James's backstory. If you hopefully you've been watching the channel so far, that I'm your fourth corner demented Christian, but for him, I like, then there's that side of me. It's like, man, you put Christians in a bad taste when you're like that evil. You come off as the preacher, and you're being evil, and you smack a little girl, and you're supposed to be motivating these people in a different direction, towards our Lord and Savior. But like, you're leading it, and this is what irritates me, is because it's obviously Satan's work. It puts a bad taste on Christians, and we're crazy apparently. So anyway, with all that aside, I loved that they did that for him, because it put him in that dark light, and that was the dark side of him. I liked that we got David and James's backstory, because we don't get that in the game. And I loved the build up from their story to they running into Ellie in the woods. And from that point on, well, actually, no, after the opening scene, it's the opening credits, and then it starts with Ellie down in the basement with Joel. So from there forward, the entire game was exactly the same. So this episode, we're not going over any changes, Easter eggs. It was spot on. And this is the first episode where we ran into everything that was just exactly the same. Every scene, every moment, every word, like the script was exactly from the game.
Oh yeah.
And I was waiting for one scene, which we're going to get into, but I was waiting for one line, and I heard it, and I was just like, all right, episode's great. I don't have to watch the rest. But I was waiting for it. But yeah, David and James, I loved their chemistry as well. I loved that James questioned him, and fairly so, because he sees he's one of the people that knew what was truly going on with the cannibalism. And so he's obviously not comfortable with it. He doesn't like the idea, but when you're in that state of mind, you're fucking hungry. I don't think I could do it. There's no way I could. I'd rather starve. But, you know, they're trying to feed a town. So I like that he comes off, or David comes off as this nice guy, but he's truly dark, and James sees it and he questions him. But there's also questioning from David where he's like, do you trust me? Do you believe me? And like stuff like that. And are you gonna, you know, are you with me or not? And so James is like, yeah, I'm with you. Like it was blind loyalty. And but James had his, you know, he had a suspicion, but he kept his blind loyalty. He stayed till the end, which was awesome. The way James dies, I'm sorry, but it's great. It's awesome.
Son.
Yeah, and I mean, it was awesome. It was even more awesome the way David dies, rightfully so, which we'll get into. But yeah, I loved that we got a little taste of the background, and it so makes sense and fits into the game. Like, I'm glad that they added that to give, because we just run into them in the woods in the game. Oh, okay, let's fight over this deer, and I liked that. Again, the whole thing was spot on. So I liked that I got to see those exact lines that him and Ellie share. They're spot on, and it was from word to word the same as the game. So I was waiting for that little conversation where the twist came in, where he's like, yeah, a crazy man and a little girl. Like, I was like, oh, yep, they're going for it full on. So I was really excited from beginning to end. And finally, we got some freaking action. Now, I'm going to save what I'm going to say next for my closing thought. But yes, I'm so happy with the action that we did get from this episode. Now, moving forward with Ellie and Joel, they had some significant scenes too, besides David and James. So now this is the part in the game where we play as Ellie, and this is the badass Ellie that we wanted. So JR, what did you think of Ellie's scenes throughout this whole episode? And then Joel came in afterwards.
Well, it was good because you had her. I mean, she knew that she had to be the fighter at this moment. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, she knew she had to do everything for him. She knew she had to basically be the one to get the medicine, to hunt. I mean, she grabs the gun, and the fact that she shot the deer in the one shot she had, you know, and wounded it was, you know, pretty good. So she's already getting where she's hunting. Remember, she's been wanting to go hunting for a while. So he's never let her. Now that he can't really stop her.
When you play as Ellie, I missed like 5 times on that deer shot.
One change I will bring up is Ellie had a bow and arrow, not a rifle in the game.
Oh, that is right. You're right.
That would have been better.
Oh, good catch. Good catch. I didn't even remember that.
Her bow is so iconic. But I guess this is Tommy's gun, right? The one that Tommy gave her?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, it doesn't take away from anything. I think it's still
no, but that is a good catch. Yeah, you're right. She does get him with a bow and arrow.
Yeah, I mean, you had the scene where, you know, where she's fighting back against James, and then here's Joel, who she gave a knife to, says, whoever comes out of the basement, you kill him. And he went full berserker mode.
Fucking love that scene.
But yeah, I mean, the way he killed him and no remorse, I mean, hit the guy over the head, which I wish they would have showed that in a way, just at least show the shot where he hits him in the head. You know, I know me and Rick had this thing where we hate the off-screen kills in a way.
And the game was off-screen too, but the difference was, at least in the game, there was blood splatter.
Oh yeah, you saw the whole thing.
You just heard the sound. Show it. I mean, show it. If you're gonna go all on this episode, show it.
Yeah.
I mean, and then, you know, where, you know, she fights her way out, and I think, hopefully I don't steal your line. I think I might steal your line. Where the way it ended, where they hugged, I'll let you save the line, but I'm sure that's where you're getting at.
Yeah. No, it's okay. Say it.
No, I mean, when he grabs her and he goes, "I got you, baby girl."
That made the episode for me right there.
Yeah, because he finally.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm actually thinking of a different line, but I'll tell you.
He finally, like,
bro,
that was father mode right there. He went pure father mode right there.
That's awesome.
Okay, I cried a little bit right there.
Yeah, because the fact that he seen her battered and bruised, and he wasn't there for her. And I think that's what hurt him the most. And that's where he finally caved in. You know, I got you, baby girl. And yeah, I mean, that good way to end the episode.
Ricky Grimes, the man himself. What did you think of Ellie's badass? I mean, you were waiting for it.
Yeah, I was. I mean, this is the episode. If I wasn't sold on Bella Ramsey before, which I was, but this would be the episode that would have really turned me over.
Oh, she locked me in.
excellent. The emotion, the passion, the way she was kept stabbing at David. And what I do like, another subtle change when she's stabbing David, Joel comes in and sees it and he pulls her off. And here she finishes it herself. She walks up. Then Joel sees her later. What I like about it in the show, they see Joel sees the cannibalized bodies hanging. So he knows that they're cannibals at that point. So he knows when he finds Ellie later. And
Are you talking about when he's in the firehouse?
Yeah, near the end. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because in the game, Joel sees her kill David. And here he did not.
No.
And
you're right.
I prefer it this way because when he sees Ellie and she's bloody and battered, and he saw the corpses, he sees the people that they're dealing with, and knowing that she survived and what she had to do, and just the look on her face, knowing what she had to do to get out of there. Mm-hmm. Oh man, it's just, that was amazing. And I dug that little subtle change to it. And like I said, when Joel was interrogating those guys and he's stabbing them, you don't see Joel as like a mean or mad person. You just see him as a guy that says, "Oh, I'm just so tired. I'm hurt. Just why are you making me do this? Damn it!" Like I love the acting on Pedro in that sense, and that was scene for scene from the game as well. The stabbing and even the line, like, "Oh, I believe him." You know what I'm saying? So between those two, I loved both. All of everything involving Joel and Ellie in this. It was great. Joel fighting her was great because the fighting didn't seem choreographed. It looked sloppy, but it's gonna be sloppy when you're in that position health wise. So overall, man, perfect. Mm-hmm. I couldn't ask for any better between those two.
Look at Ricky Grimes catching all these Easter eggs. I just played the game and I'm like,
this is the part I remember the most. The middle, I'm iffy, but toward the climax of the game, that's when it gets really good, but that sticks out more.
Mm-hmm. This is the major scene where shit goes haywire and like all or nothing from here on out, But yeah, for Ellie, badass. Like, I do love the moments that she has with Joel. Like, she's fixing him up. She finds she fought for that medicine. But I'm glad that she saves him in the nick of time for him to come out. But he doesn't really save her. She saved herself. Whereas, I guess in a way he saves her emotionally. Mm-hmm. Because she was like, get off me. And
it took her a minute to realize.
It took her a minute to realize, like, oh my God, it's Joel. And like, that was the one person she needed to see. And she thought, like, she had no idea if this guy was going to survive or die, because she did the best that she could to aid him. And I'm just really happy that moment happened from them because it was needed. And you're right, the whole baby girl, like that. Okay, I cried. That I spread out or had a few tears come out for that because he hasn't said that in 20 years. He has not said it in 20 years.
If you notice, when he said that, the shot was framed perfectly with the watch front and center.
Yes, I noticed that because I was like, oh, the watch that doesn't work. Yeah, the moment where behind JR, where Ellie's in the cage, I loved the chemistry that she has with David in there because there was a small word that she said. She was like, ew. Because she knew which way this was going, because she was listening to him and she was, fuck you and blah, blah, blah. But the most iconic part of that was where she said, Ellie, my name is Ellie. And tell them my name is Ellie, the little girl that fucking broke your finger. I loved that. I was waiting for that line. But
what did he say? What did David say? Little tiny pieces, you say, or something like that.
Yeah, he's like, what did you say? Tiny little pieces.
Good line.
But the one line I was waiting for, my other favorite scene, now going over to Joel, was he now snaps back into reality. He's not feeling better, but he's better physically and he can fight and whatever, the best that he can. But I was waiting for the scene where he's in with the two guys, the guy tied up with the two guys tied up, one in the chair, one not. And I was like, please say what I want you to say. Please say what I want you to say. And he said it, which was, I believe him.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, yes. And it's such a great scene because he could have went even more manic than that, but it's more the way how subtle he did it. It's a little more manic within itself. So like, oh, he was a calm manic. Like he really wants to find Ellie. So I love that they're also like their love for each other is progressing. And now we're seeing, like I've been saying since day one, Joel's onion layers are out. Like he's about a fried onion now. He's about to be an onion ring. Like
onion
he's
rings are good.
all in for Ellie now. Like he loves this girl. And yeah, this whole episode
top
was
tier.
spot on. A top tier. Like it's by far my favorite episode besides the sniper scene. And that's probably the most of infection we're gonna get. I gotta yeah. We'll talk about that at closing thoughts.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing. The scene behind JR. I loved the fact that they kept the whole broken finger part in. She snapped that fucking finger off. And that's when he said the tiny little pieces. But I loved that whole scene where they're bringing her to the table and she played it spot on. Like, because and her voice sounds like the girl in the game. Like, I don't know. That's all I have to say about that. That whole scene was just, like I've said since we started recording, was this episode from the scene where they're in the snow with the deer and they're fighting over the deer and forward was, I thought I was playing the game, honestly. It was so spot on.
Yeah, they took away a lot of the action from the game here, because even when she was on a horse, there was a lot more action before she got shot down.
Yeah, she ran through like towns.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, her and David actually teamed up at one point. They fought clickers.
No, not at this scene.
No, not in that scene, but I'm saying within the story, they teamed up together. They fought clickers, I'm pretty sure. They took that completely out of this. Because there was no infected in this episode. Really.
You're right, because Joel, when he wakes up, he's the one. When Joel wakes up is when the clickers start coming out.
Yeah,
he's fighting the raiders and the clickers.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure David and Ellie kind of had a little moment when they had to, like, you know.
Yes, you're.
Yeah.
God damn it! Look at Rick on it.
I'm telling you, this fucking game was when I first played it, it was all I could think about. So
because he says the line in there, he says the iconic line with their scene, which was the twist, where he said "crazy man" and a little girl. Then right when he says that, they hear clickers, and he's like each other or not, we're gonna have to fight.
Yeah, it's around that scene, if I recall.
Yes, and so they're in that shed fighting. God damn it! Why don't they show this shit?
It's just time. I'll get to this at the end, but it's a matter of just time, pacing. But you know, they better make up for it.
Yes. Yeah, the finale, I am so excited for, especially for JR, because like I know me and Rick knows what's gonna happen, but I'm excited to see how they're gonna play it in real life.
I want to see GR. It's gonna be a good discussion because GR is gonna love this topic. And I want to hear his opinion on it.
Yeah. So, closing thoughts. What are things? Is there any last second things that you want to say about this episode? What are you looking forward to? What's our closing thoughts, guys? JR?
Well, I definitely want to see what's the repercussions of Ellie killing David and James. What's going to happen with her? Because, I mean, is that town going to just be happy that their leadership is destroyed and they can move on from David and James and, you know, new leaders and go a different direction? You need infected. I mean, this whole thing was based on infected, and I know you have remnants of society that are going different routes, but the lack of infected is kind of, it's like stopping the growth for me of this series so far. Because
that's what I mentioned, that the infected that were in the story completely removed.
You need them.
Yeah, I feel like the infected were supposed to come in the scenes where they said 3 months later, 3 months later, 3 months later. They're in those 3 months, that's where they fought the most. You see the huge progression that they are as a team, Joel and Ellie. So I feel like the 3 months that they kept saying every episode was where they fought infected.
See, here's the problem for somebody that never played the game. As I'm watching this, all I'm thinking is like, okay, so the infected they stay away from the cold because I haven't seen one infected run in the snow.
No, not at all.
So for me, that's just like, all right. So why don't you?
But that would make sense though. In a sense, that would be
Yeah.
in the
Well,
snow,
they ran in the
sluggish.
snow with
And plus,
David
remember,
and Ellie.
sunlight is what gets them active too. Don't forget. So
Yes, it's one of those things. Now I'm like, all right, why don't you just stay in the cold the whole time? Just
hell yeah, move to fucking Antarctica or something,
ain't really
Alaska. But hang out with the couple from the last episode.
Yeah, because they run in the cold though
Prior
with
episode.
David and Ellie in the shed scene.
Yeah, but they need to have them. If you have the final episode with no clickers, I'll be honest, I'll be slightly disappointed because you have to have some kind of affection.
I would be majorly disappointed
if you don't have that. I mean, the Raiders is still lingering because you continue to hear the Raiders. Even David mentioned the Raiders, how they would attack and they would move. They kept moving until they established that town. So now you have two things you've been hearing the last couple episodes: the Raiders and the infected, and you're not seeing either one of them. So yeah, for me, I'm looking forward to it. One of them, if not both of them. But if they have no infected in the last episode, I'll be honest, it'll be a disappointing way to end the first season.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, for me, I'm on the same boat with that, and I've been saying this already for the last few episodes. Like, it's so I don't notice it because the show's been so good, but in hindsight, thinking back to it, there was lack of violence and gore and infected. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're few and far in between for a show. Or when you play the game, it's a constant fight. And I get that they slow it down for the show. I'm okay with that, and I'm glad they do that. But there's got to be scenes, and I don't want just one infected just to be thrown in there just for the sake of it. I want it to make sense, like I think it was it Ken, the episode Ken with Sam and what was his brother's name again? Henry. Yeah, then when the infected came out of the fucking the tunnels, they came out of the tunnels, and that was great. And the fact that we don't see them much, but when they do show up, it's great. But the threat has to be there, has to be looming over. I feel like people just walking around nonchalantly, not even worrying about things,
Yeah.
And especially like I said, David and Ellie, they did fight infected. I'm pretty sure they did. And again, it was done in a way so Ellie and David could be more comfortable with each other and build a bit more rapport before the shit really hits the fan later. But I don't know if they didn't want to just budget wise or time wise or nothing. But what worries me is the last episode is going to be the shortest runtime out of the entire series at 45 minutes. And there is a lot. Yes, 45-minute runtime, the shortest of the whole series.
It's not even 60?
Nope. And that's a lot to cover within that short amount of time. Because this is it. This is going to where the game ends. This is it. And there's still a lot to get into. Like, we still got them on the road.
Super mad.
There's still tons of characters to dive into. There's still flashback. I mean, it's everything. So much that needs to go into this. And like JR said, there got to be some kind of affected in here. They don't even got to be clickers per se. I just want to see infected,
Yeah.
So it's to see where it goes. But there is a scene coming up that is my favorite scene from the entire video game. I thought we missed it, but thinking back, I think we may get it in this finale. And I'm not gonna say what it is, but if it happens, I'll bring it up next week. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to if they keep the ending intact. I hope they do. It's gonna be a big talking point if they keep it intact. And other than that, yeah, more infected, more action, more, if you want to keep the Raiders to the side for this one at least, and get me infected, I'm all right with that. I just want some sort of threat, and I hope we get to see the Fireflies. So let's go, guys. Let's go.
Yes. Closing thoughts. Whew. I am happy we got to see the backstory of David and James. James kind of reminded me of the Lady in the Mist. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know why I thought of her when I was thinking of James, because she was kind of a demented Christian herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, that's
she was the worst
for something. It's a little Easter egg for something. Yeah. Anyway. Yes. What I'm waiting for, and I'm glad you said it, Rick, because that's what I was going to say. I know you've been waiting for that certain something. And if you watched back in a few of our episodes, Rick says what he wants to see. So go back and watch because he says it, but he said he doesn't want to say it, so I'm not going to say it. But I think
But there's Easter eggs already planted prior that we had brought up too about it.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, we'll mention it because I have a good feeling that it's going to happen, and I hope it does.
Oh my god, I hope so.
There's too many clues.
Stop it. Move on.
Yes. Anyways, yes.
My boy.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the finale. I am now shocked that it's 45 fucking minutes.
Yeah,
what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you know what though? With the short runtime,
I don't want to.
I hope this is not the case. Walking Dead is notorious for this. I hope they don't split this episode and keep the rest of it for the next season. You know what I'm saying?
Oh hell no!
I hope they don't do. That's a big
y'all got me
mistake.
stressed out. 45 minutes. That's insane, though.
It's bad. It's bad.
That stresses me out because there's so much, and like
I
don't know what to expect. And now that I hear it's 45 minutes, I'm super scared.
Yeah.
And I definitely agree with you guys. I want to see Infected. We get a little bit here and a little bit there. The best infection scene was with Perry and oh my god, I forgot her name.
Yeah, that was the best.
Yeah.
Kathleen?
Yeah, Kathleen, that's right.
Yeah, that was the best. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the best one.
And again, we got that death in the background too, though. It wasn't full front and center, man. What's going on with HBO, bro? GR, what's going on, bro? This is the channel. This is the station that turned down Walking Dead because it was too violent. And a year later, they're pumping out Game of Thrones, and now they're going back to this, like, I don't know. Anyway, but the show's been so good that I've been overlooking it. So
yeah, it has been very great. It's been a wild ride. I'm super excited to like know what's going on and what they're going to cram in 45 minutes. My stomach hurts thinking about it. Like, yeah.
Well, at least we know there's not going to be like no slow moments, right?
Yeah, it has to be action packed, full on. They got to go full throttle. They have to because there's so much that's supposed to happen.
Well, let's wait and find out next week. I can't wait, guys.
I know. I'm so excited. But yeah. Any other closing thoughts, guys? Like,
no,
God.
I'm just ready for the finale.
Yes. My brain's racking. My brain's racking. 45 minutes, man. I can't stop saying it. That's great.
One thing I will say, man, that disappointed me before we go. I love the first 2 episodes because of the cold open were so scary and telling us more about the cordyceps and the beginning of. And all of a sudden they dropped all that, and that sense of dread has been missing from the show ever since. You agree?
I agree. Yes, I agree.
Well, that's it. That's all. Let's go.
Overall, yeah, it's been great. But I need infection. That's what I'm hoping for. That's my closing thought. Give us some clickers, bloaters, stalkers. I want it all. Give me the heat, man.
Fuck it, bring the Rat King.
Give me the smoke. So
Lost? Oh no, never mind. Wrong smoke monster.
Alrighty, guys. It is the end of episode 8 of our Horror Fiend podcast featuring The Last of Us. My name is Lexi. I'm with my devilishly handsome co-hosts, JR and Ricky Grimes. Oh, man. I can't believe we're near the end, guys. Next week is the finale. All right. We got to bring in the beer and the wine, guys.
I know,
and,
right?
You know, JR's coffee.
Nah, JR, he'll drink a few brews when the time
you better, for the finale, you better.
This guy was freaking trash for our live stream. You seen that? You missed that? I was a sober one. This guy was freaking
I was
gone. Rated him, poor radar. All right, let's not digress. Let's go.
Until next time, guys. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.